Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 20 of Code Geass R2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, if things were in a dire state before, they're really dire now. You know, the Black Knights have betrayed Lelouch, and he's basically on his own. You know, Rollo died, and while one might think with an episode called Betrayal, it would be about the Black Knights, I really think it's about how Lelouch betrays us, the audience, by not killing Rollo and allowing him to die. But, I don't know. Like, so many things are happening and so many things are continuing to happen. Like, Suzaku seems to be in a slightly better frame of mind, considering he had just recently used a nuclear weapon on a civilian population by and large. But, you know, I don't think it's really safe to bank on him being a rational actor going forward. Ooh. Oh, he's gonna throttle Nina, isn't he? Oh, wow. Nina Robert Oppenheimer here. Like, oh man, I didn't know my nuclear bomb would be this horrible. Oh, wow. Suzaku's really gone off the deep end, and he's like, oh, well, you know, at least we'll win the war. Good lord. You know, seeing Nina display some measure of remorse is kind of reassuring, but it's just a shame that it only took, 25 million estimated casualties to get to that point. So, there are a lot of questions right now. Like, Lelouch still seems to be resolved to do things and unwilling to just wallow in self-pity and roll over and die. But at the same time, there isn't a whole lot he can do anymore, And at the same time, what of the Black Knights? Without Lelouch's leadership, they certainly would never have come as far as they did. And as things stand now, things aren't looking especially rosy for them. Ah, okay. So Lelouch has got a little Geass going on. Alright. I do have to wonder that, given how late we are in R2, and how many just new plot developments are coming up, and how rapidly things are changing, I guess I'm just not entirely sure how things are going to get wrapped up. Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so the Knight of the Round here was approaching C2 and called her out by name. Is this Lelouch's doing? Because, I feel like these two have never been alone together. Alright, so is it not really the Knight of the Round? Oh. Okay, so Marianne, Lelouch's mother, was not dead. She was in disguise. And I guess even more importantly, it seems as though she has a Geass of her own, or something to that effect. You know, she certainly knows about it. I imagine this disguise has something to do with that. Okay, well, I'm entirely lost. I don't know what's going on. I guess, let's take this right all the way to the bottom, you know? Okay, so if this is truly Marianne here, she has a Geass that she got from C2. Okay, I think I'm seeing, like, puzzle pieces falling into place here. You know, Cornelia says, like, I'm leaving Anya here on this ship. Anya being maybe Marianne? Hard to say, but I feel like that's gonna come up in, well, fairly short order. You know, there are only, 5 episodes left? Oh, dear. Ooh, so the Black Knights are going to do something nifty called lying. You know, they've betrayed Zero. You know, they think Zero betrayed them, but, kind of not really. And they're just going to sort of declare that he's dead. This isn't strictly true, and naturally, if they do that, it's probably going to come back and bite them severely. Which, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get around this or get out of it. Alright, so I guess things are sort of working out a little bit from the student council's perspective. You know, like, no one knew has died recently, which, take that for the blessing that it is. Although, spoke too soon. Rollo died, but he's no real member of the student council, and... Huh. Okay. So I guess Lelouch is making it clear that he can't keep any of his promises. He's got bigger fish to fry. But I'm hoping the bigger fish to fry isn't, like a sacrificial move. Okay, so... that's another big thing, I suppose, with the Emperor being back in the picture. And with the title, like, unfit to be Emperor for this episode, I feel like something decisive is probably going to happen. I guess that's a fair assumption to make if there are all these lights and symbols going on. It kind of puts me in mind of Full Metal Alchemist, almost. But, oh dear. So the Emperor's just kicking things off, Ragnarok as he calls it, which is... like what, the apocalypse from Norse mythology? Or Norse, rather? Okay. So things are very interesting, because the Emperor is talking as though Schneisel's not on side with him. So I can't help but wonder if Schneisel represents an entirely separate faction in all of this from the Empire. Which, I guess, leads to the possibility that if the Emperor is really doing something bad, destroying and remaking the world, as he's put it, then maybe Schneisel would see fit to align himself with Lelouch. Because I think it's fair to say, like, no one else really wants to have the world destroyed and remade. That's not something a whole bunch of people are liable to survive, I'd imagine. Alright. So obviously Jeremiah is upset about all this, with Lelouch being dead and all that. It's not true, of course, but I suppose, yeah, things are already sort of setting in that this is now a fractious coalition. Without Lelouch to sort of wrangle everyone. I don't know. I guess it makes sense that everyone would sort of fracture and go their own way, kind of. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, like, we've been used as pawns, and that is true to a degree, but that always would have been true with or without a Geass, you know? Alright, so he's doing something interesting here, Lelouch, whereby the Geass is now just like, you'll do whatever I tell you, rather than a one-off thing. Which is probably, the smarter move when you get down to it, even if it is kind of heinous. What with the implications on free will and all that. The question is, what's gonna happen now? Because I feel like the Black Knights are gonna be hoisted by their own petard in fairly short order. The question is, do they inevitably go back to side with Lelouch? Because I feel like that bridge is kind of burned. I wouldn't be surprised if Lelouch did take them back, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't necessarily be the wise thing to do. Okay, so Suzaku's really, kind of gone off the deep end, where he's just sort of rationalizing the use of nuclear weapons now. It's like, what is a weapon if not something to be used in war? Like, I don't want to say he's, like, just entirely gone, but, he's certainly suffering, hence this change in personality. Ooh. So it seems like there's a fractious coalition all around. Cornelia's none too happy about Guilford having likely died. Suzaku was the cause of that, kind of. So, man, to just say, like, I did it to advance my position, that's, whoa, buddy, that's a real tactless thing to say, and it's not going to earn him any friends. It's certainly not going to earn him any respect from Cornelia, I don't think. Wow, Suzaku's being awfully presumptuous. I feel like his station doesn't necessarily allow him to get away with this sort of thing, but... Oh. Okay. So Suzaku's sort of, hinting that maybe Schneizel should become the Emperor, which is, in a word, treasonous. Were the Emperor to hear of this, he would certainly not like it, I don't believe. So I guess this cements it, Schneizel, the Emperor, and Lelouch are all opposed to one another. I guess the question is, which two are going to team up to take out the larger threat? Alright, so Schneizel at least has a reasonable claim that, like, someone who just sits by and watches as suffering goes on, they're not worthy of ruling. A ruler should act on behalf of his people. Which is a fair point, but, this is all the prelude to, killing or deposing the Emperor, which, it seems like it's a pretty tough pill to swallow for most of the people in the room. And, seeing as how Suzaku is sort of the impetus behind this, I feel like maybe Schneizel should be a little bit wary. He doesn't presumably know about Suzaku and what he did to the former Prime Minister of Japan. I feel like knowing that would maybe inform his decision to keep Suzaku close to him. I, in his position, certainly wouldn't want to. So I guess things are kicking off pretty handily, you know, with Gino being held at gunpoint and spear point, you know. I guess as one of the knights of the round, he would be in a position to sort of try and stop things, but he's clearly outnumbered. Alright, so Schneisel's talking about philosophy and authority, like, that's how you know things are getting serious. So, Suzaku's just rushed in to see the Emperor, and, you know, presumably kill him, but unfortunately, I don't think he's aware of what the Emperor is capable of, namely, not dying. And, well, you know, Suzaku's got a point. Like, the Geass seems to draw out the worst of people, but I don't know. I feel like he's being a little bit presumptuous here and not really planning things ahead. I feel like maybe if he were to fight the Emperor, he would be wise not to, you know, do it personally with a sword, but maybe, like, use a bigger weapon. So I guess this is sort of like the pitfall of his approach in that, you know, I believe this guy, the Knight of One here, is here to fight him off. And, you know, it would make sense that even the immortal Emperor would have, like, a bodyguard every now and again, just for the sake of appearances. Alright, so back to Dieter. The guy's just scheming. And I feel like all his scheming is really weighing down everything, you know? Like, after everything that went on, he's now saying that Ogi is probably unfit to lead, and it's like, you know, I feel like beggars can't really be choosers at this point, you know? You've ousted Lelouch, so, like, you have what you have. Now, things aren't good for Suzaku right now because he's clearly bested, but the Geass would bid him to live, and even then he's sort of resisting it, but I guess it's kind of immaterial now with Lelouch showing up. Now, I guess the question here is, do he and Suzaku bury the hatchet? I feel like they would probably have to at this point, you know, given the circumstances. So I guess this is the point of all that Geassing earlier. You know, Lelouch has Confederates who are firing on other friendly vessels. So I guess in a way, you know, he no longer needs the Black Knights. He's got a fair group of people who are going to help him out. I guess the question is, can he leverage this to take care of the Emperor? Although I guess, you know, maybe I'm right. Maybe Suzaku and Lelouch will do it together. I mean, I feel like Lelouch likely wouldn't do this unless he had somehow stumbled upon some sort of method of killing the Emperor, but I don't know what that would be at this point. Alright, so once again, the Black Knights and Schneisel are meeting together. You know, I guess given the circumstances, they can't really just stand around and not do anything. Although the question is, are they going to arrive in time to help kill the Emperor, or are they just going to try and, like, mop up whoever's left? I feel like Schneisel, being shrewd, would probably plan for the latter contingency. You know, hopefully, like, Lelouch or the Emperor will take care of one another, and he can just kill whoever's left, but I don't know. Despite minimal planning, Lelouch seems to have enough going on his side that maybe he can actually do this, assuming he does have an actual method of killing the Emperor. Okay. So Anya's clearly under a Geass again, perhaps Marianne's intervening. But she's sort of insinuating that Mr. Knight of One here is taking part in the coup. I feel like she's just trying to muddy the waters here. Okay, yeah, she's definitely up to something, Marianne. Because I feel like, having sighted Lelouch, naturally she's gonna want to help him out or do something, right? Okay. So that's interesting. C2 and Marianne really seem to know each other. And more to the point, it seems like Lelouch got his shrewdness from Marianne. It's not like the Emperor isn't shrewd or anything, but, Marianne was sort of depicted as, this tragic figure who was murdered and all that, but it seems like she was involved in all of this to some degree, at the very least. So I guess once again, they're confronting one another in this place. The question is Lelouch better prepared? Because last time he thought he could just shoot the Emperor and be done with it, but that's not the case anymore. He's certainly saying, look, I've already won, but, that remains to be seen. Well, I guess that's something. If he's sealed them both in here, unable to escape, then I guess that is settling things in one manner. Well, I guess that does it. If you can't kill an immortal, you might as well trap them so that they can't do anything ever for the rest of eternity. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.